lot of them are pretty good about it.
We're expecting one other board member. He's got 2 minutes.
I'm just jumping in bed. I get so excited for these things we have to eat.
You need a hobby. Don't want to be a hobby. You need a hobby.
I am a hobby. But you don't do it on days like today. There he is.
Just in time. Perfect.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, I would like to call the Lower Saucon Township zoning hearing board to order. Would you please rise for a moment of silence and place the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This is speaker on.
It's green.
That's great. Okay. All right, we'll have the roll call
Mr. Easley,
here.
Mr. Halrigi,
Here.
Mr. Gorzinski,
Here.
Mr. Caroline is absent, and Mr. McGovern.
Here.
And the solicitor is present.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we have before us the minutes from the last meeting, and I would make a motion that we accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And also, we have before us the bills. I'll make a motion that we pay the bills.
Second.
All those in favor?
Okay, that brings us to the hearing before us tonight, the Keck variance. So is someone here from the Keck variance? Okay, if you please come forward. Okay, yeah, if you be sworn in by Molly.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear by Almighty God or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, please answer, I do. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll call on our zoning officer to make his presentation, and we'll hear from you.
The property located at 3227 Apples Church Road. Property owner Vanessa Keck is requesting a variance from section 180-91D to allow for the construction of a second primary dwelling unit on the property where only one primary structure is permitted in accordance with the aforementioned section.
Okay,
Mr. Mitch, did you get a letter from the township solicitor about their position?
Yes, I suppose I could just read the letter.
Yes, why don't you?
On June 3rd, 2025, Lower Saucon Township Council passed a motion for the township to formally oppose the zoning application of Vanessa N. Keck, identified as variance number 05-25 for 3227 Apples Church Road, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. The application requests relief to allow two primary uses on a single property, where the request is to have this done rather than subdividing the property. The township believes that this is a very dangerous precedent, and the applicant would be unable to meet the requirements of the zoning ordinance, including but not limited to hardship. Thank you.
okay,
Your turn.
all right, yes.
Okay, I'm not exactly sure what you want me to explain, but my mom and I would like to build a adult dwelling unit.
Excuse me, could I have your name? I thought you were the applicant.
I'm the applicant,
Okay, what is your name?
Vanessa Keck.
Okay, thank you.
Would like to construct a adult dwelling unit on my property for my mom to reside in. My mom has currently sold her house. She is a huge help to my family as far as my kids and just in general, financial wise, also with both of us being on the residence on the same property together would help out a lot as well.
Okay,
You
is this
gave
like,
us, you gave us a writing indicating the reasons you would like the,
Yes,
so I will incorporate that.
okay,
as your testimony.
yes, please.
okay, is this like one building with a part for you and a part for your mother, one building?
It's, my house is the primary on the front of the property.
It's one building with a garage.
With one building with garage. is my house, my property.
You want to build a separate and second building.
Yes,
How big is the property?
my property is almost 5 acres,
Yeah, 4.9.
4.9.
Okay. And the reason you don't want to subdivide the property is because,
So they have a budget, mom sold the house, and
Excuse me, could I
I'm
have
the contractor. So
have your name, please?
Yeah, my name's Adam Schwab, SCHWAB, company's premier contracting and construction management. So we were trying to work as an affordable resolution for them. Mom sold their house, tried to gather up some money, and what we thought is, if we go into the subdivision and we start subdividing the land, they don't want to subdivide the land because it means a lot to them. And the mother's getting older and they still want to own the whole lot. It's been the family for,
It's my mom is essentially moving back home. This house has been the family for almost 75 years, 80 years.
and trying
As
to,
an entire piece of property.
yeah, so trying to control both those units, not like sell one unit off. Thought processes, if we can have, an adult unit over there, which, we were calling accessory structure, but the goal was to get the mother her space, not subdivide, and keep it in the family. They have two? So 2 children, and the moms they thought that they could keep this in the family for a long time. So they get older and their 2 children have kids, that it could be all done in one structure. They didn't want to subdivide it, they didn't want to separate the bills. The thought process is that mom can come on and have the same electric, have the same utilities, that they can make this an affordable residence for them to both live on. She's currently not married, right? And, and they're not married, so she's single. And it was just a way that we could try to find a ton of acres, to try to find a space. And it's not a huge structure. We fit, a bedroom, an office, a bathroom in it, and a small kitchen.
Who's the current owner of the property? You are, okay. So your mother is coming in?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, if you subdivide it, it's still on the property, right? You just want to keep one property just for the purpose of keeping the property, but subdividing doesn't mean you won't own the property anymore. It's just, if you're converting for when you want to sell the property, you don't want to have to deal, so it's not a question of being able to keep it as a property, it's a question of you want to be able to sell your property afterwards, you want to just sell it as a whole?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, it's maintaining the 2 separate properties, which could be harder as the family
So that we can-
ages out. It could be harder to
And
do.
we can keep the property and the family.
And so I did see your notes about have you considered just making the house bigger, right? Making her, attach it to the house, and I'm sure you could build it in a way that it feels separate, but doesn't actually put a second single-family home unit so that it can still be in compliance, right? I mean, there's plenty of land to make the house a lot bigger. Is that an option for you guys?
So the thought process was, if we had to attach the house, I know that they really want to keep the privacy, amongst the 2, and try to give that separation, because the way the house is located, they have a septic to the left side of their home, and for them to extend the house, they have to extend it out on an angle, which is pretty much towards their backyard. So it kind of now brings their backyard, extends that whole space up even further, where the thought process is they can have a separate dwelling, a little bit further back, that the kids still have their yard, they still have, where their toys are, or where they can hang out, where they can entertain, and the mother's house would be set back a little bit forward, which just separates that a little bit, so it's not that mom is on top of the family all the time and not in their backyard. Because you can't go left, you have to go straight out, which kind of competes into what they're using now for all their entertainment, their back porch and all that.
So, I mean, does it have to be a separate single home residency? I mean, for example, you can have a detached garage with some kind of loft, right? Big part of it and still be within the rules of the zoning, or?
No, an in-law suite in the section of the ordinance that has the regulations for in-law suites, it says it has to be attached to the main door.
Attached. Okay.
Within the main door.
Sure.
Has the issue of the access on Bright Lane been resolved? Do you have, if I read this right, Bright Lane, that's where you're gonna have the driveway? And do you have
That's
access?
for all driveways on that lane where,
Okay, so that wouldn't be an issue. You wouldn't need anybody's approval for that.
no, they've all been notified as well.
Who owns Bright Lane? Is that a,
It's a paper road.
tell me?
Yeah, the property owner for 1910 Brights Lane owns Brights Lane, as far as I can tell on the county website from the conversation with the property owner. So before the township would be able to permit the construction,
Right.
there would have to be some kind of resolution to that, like an easement agreement or something with the property owner who actually owns Brights Lane. It's not a township road
But
maintained
there's
by the township.
4 houses already on that lane.
Right,
So the owner is 910?
1910.
And we've already spoke with him about doing this as well. He was
So-
notified of our mailings as well.
Do you feel like they would give you the rights?
Oh, I'm pretty sure of it. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you can get his way in, right, that says that, yeah, we're perfectly fine with this, you know, it'll certainly help your case. You know, what we try to do is try to, you know, we look at the neighborhood first and look at the neighbors themselves and make sure that everyone's happy with what you're doing, and then we look at the policy and zoning board. Anything that you can add to your case that says, yeah, I've talked to all these people, and they said, yeah, and particularly the one with this, the one that was brought up, which was the, eminent domain ownership of that lane, so you're pretty confident he'll be okay, that individual will be okay with you.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that it was eminent domain on that right away,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it was a paper road prior.
Well, no, I think it's owned by that property holder.
Right, it wouldn't be a right of way. He outright owns Brights Lane. It goes directly onto his property, so, I mean, from my conversation with him, it doesn't seem like he would be very receptive to that. You would have to have some kind of actual documentation before we approved it, like an easement agreement written into the deed. So you're able to go through that process with him, but I'm just telling you that the interactions that I had with him are different than the interactions that you may have had with him. So we would have to definitely have that resolved.
And we thought the thought process too, even with this separate dwelling, accessory structure, I mean, everybody calls it different names, was that they would not mind changing the deed to say that it's only gonna be for family, only can never be rented outside the family. This is a structure for whoever lives there for family members only, and it's not a rental property. So we just wanted to make that clear that we don't want anything to do, they don't want to try to rent that, they want to rent at a later date, so they're okay having the deed restriction on that and be changed so that that is just part of the house structure.
I'm not sure that's something that can be put into the deed, I mean, that,
We've done it in a different township, kind of the same situation, and the concern was the same thing, is that people only bringing additional renters in and having multi-units there. So we just done it in up in Kunji, and we had the deed changed so that it can only be family live there, and it can be a non-rented dwelling. Which I thought was pretty nice, just because I know that's a lot of everybody's biggest concern.
I don't know how you would enforce that, but, okay.
Could you just go back and say why you wouldn't want to subdivide the property with 4.8 acres? Why wouldn't you just go down
Because
there?
the property has been in the family for over 75 years.
But it'll
We
still
want
be
to
in the
keep
family,
it.
right, you'll still own the property.
I understand that, but I would rather have it as one piece of property.
But to make it easier, wouldn't it? If we were following the township.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the thing is financially, I think you go through a subdivision and subdividing a property, you know, is a ton. I've been part of subdivisions, and I've been part of that. It's a time frame subdivision. You know, Mom's got some health things that, you know, we want to try to expedite this process, and, you know, the subdividing could be a long, drawn out time. The second thing was trying to own 2 separate units at one point, keeping one lot compared to trying to maintain 2 lots at a later base when the family's getting older. So they didn't want to disturb restructuring that, re-subdividing. We thought it would be better and more financially affordable, because Mom's only working off of one income, she's retired, and only using the money off of her house. So I think if we had to subdivide, I think it takes us way over budget, and it changes the way we have to build this unit. I don't know if we can afford for spending that kind of money to build this structure. So that was kind of one of the roads we went down in the beginning, because I'm the building development, so we kind of know the cost. So one of the things we were able to do is value engineer a lot of different things to make this affordable for the family.
It's really just the cost of the process to subdivide the property, or that's the additional cost of the piece of burden. Do we know roughly what that is to just technically subdivide the property? Because, I mean, everything else, the maintenance costs, the control, I mean, it's still under your name, still under your property, so all that doesn't change, right? The amount of maintenance work you have to do on two properties is the same if you do it on one property. You just, on a piece of paper, we're putting a line down the middle, so. But and I don't wanna trivialize the cost of the subdivision itself. I don't know what that cost is, or, so.
I would say it's probably 10,000.
Just to subdivide the
Yeah,
property.
just by the time we get the engineers involved, I mean, we did a lot larger project than ours is, you know, 150, 200,000, but in one property, we try and get the engineers out, the surveying out there, getting all the zoning, getting everything, you know, I would say it's over 10K, and we were able to use someone wants money to build this, and we're on a just tight budget, and that's why we're gonna build the barndominium, and kind of just, you know, really value, the structure's kind of small. I don't know if you guys saw the blueprints, you know, that's based on just trying to work off of a budget that makes sense for the family.
I believe your best bet is to put an addition on the house. Everything which you, as a builder, can easily make a hallway between doors on both ends. You don't have to see each other, or they could, their choice, and it's all, like, mom could just walk down the hall and be in the house, or you could walk down the hall and help out mom if she needed it.
No, I appreciate that thought, and that's kind of the first thing we've kind of talked about, because we know going townships, this is one of the things that's, it's just tough, right? Some townships, yay, some townships not so much. Just the layout of the property, I mean, it looks, if you look at the photo, the above photo, gentlemen, like that, but out of the back of the house, it's their garage, like their septic's here, and this garage is probably about 25, 30 feet. So to build, they literally close in that space. So we thought if we could have it pushed back, gives mom privacy and doesn't take away from that backyard that they have, because it's real hilly, you get that spring in the back that's kind of wet and damp, which now pushes all that to that space. So they wanted to create separation, if possible, right? We're here asking, and we're here, you know, wanting you guys, and hopefully you guys can see why they want to make this and why they do this. Unfortunately, if there was, you know, we're not voted, and you guys say, you know, we have to attach it, then that's a whole separate thing that we have to do, and I know it's gonna be a little bit more money, it's not gonna be the same spot, like it pushes them outside, pushes the yard back up, and they're hoping to kind of keep that structure with their family here, but that's why we wanted to have a second dwelling. So.
Additionally, there would be a lot of trees that would have to come down otherwise to make room for the house to be built where.
They have a stream that comes through, and that's kind of why we put the dwelling. There's an existing dwelling where they're spring, but there is an existing dwelling where that structure is. There's a concrete slab that has a bathroom in it with a roof on it and all that. That's already built in that area. So the thought process was just making that bigger, was removing the walls, extending it, making it bigger. So there is a structure where this is already. So there's already plumbing ran, there's already electric line ran, there's already certain things ran and conduit to that area.
You're saying that in that same spot, there's already a structure with the foundation and all, which is that normally already in the, has that been, I guess?
It's been there forever.
I'm sorry?
It's been there forever.
Sure, but I guess is that documented within our records that,
I'd have to look, honestly, I'm not sure.
okay, maybe we can find out what that mean if it was done. I mean, I don't know if you guys, it's been there for so long, maybe it was built and someone just decided to build it and do all that.
It was my grandfather's workshop.
Sure.
So there's electric in it, there's plumbing in it.
So it was built as an accessory building,
Yes.
that's different.
Oh, I see what you're saying, the category type is an accessory versus a single unit dwelling. Got it.
So, George, what do you think? What's your,
We have a letter from the township, I normally don't make recommendations, but we have a subdivision ordinance for a reason.
Right.
And these people have good personal reasons why they wanna do what they wanna do, but that's not a zoning hardship. This isn't even close to a zoning hardship, because this can be used for permitted use, it's being used for permitted use. So I think when council sends a letter like that, I think they're correct, I think it would cause a lot of trouble in the future.
Jim, what about the road? Did you say with your discussion with the person, you don't know how many people it would be?
Right, the property owner for 1910 Brights Lane, who outright owns Brights Lane, did not seem like he would be in favor of having an easement agreement. That was a conversation that I had. I'm not sure if things had changed between that time and the meeting, and he had indicated something different, I'm not sure.
What about maybe go back and take another look at it? See if there's any possible way to make it one, or consider, see, when you subdivide something, I come from a farm in West Oklahoma. It was my great grandfather's. Well, it's all, you know, it all be together, but if you divide it on paper, you still have it. It's still in your family. It just means it clears up a lot of zoning issues. I think that'd be better.
I have a question otherwise. So the state of Pennsylvania allows ADUs for the state. Does that have any bearing on it? Because that should override otherwise.
I'm sorry, the state
The
allow.
state of Pennsylvania allows ADUs, adult dwelling units.
I'm sorry.
What?
ADUs,
ADUs,
adult
yeah.
dwelling units.
You speaking in microphone?
I'm still on, allows ABUs,
ADUs, adult dwelling units. The state of Pennsylvania allows it.
yeah, but doesn't, state of Pennsylvania doesn't allow you to put two of those on a lot.
You could subdivide it, put one on one lot, one on the other, and the same property is still yours. You won't go outside of the family, it'll be in the family. All you're doing is subdividing it. And then you meet the
And
requirement.
what about the amount of money that's gonna cost just to subdivide? That we don't have,
I'm
the
totally
extras.
interested in that.
Unfortunately, that's not a legal basis for a variance, since it can be used for a purpose and is being used.
And the accessory structure that's already there, that has.
Accessory structure is an accessory structure.
Right. It
You
already
can have an
has.
accessory structure, you can't live in it.
I think that you gotta be cautious, because if it was built with, it might have some features that may have not been allowed, or even occurring, according to the current zone, may have not allowed, but they were there because it was built by your great grandfather. And then your example might be there may be some special case, and it may not. What you're asking for is to put a single family unit on the same property, which by definition makes it a multi-family unit property. And it's oil and water, you can't combine those two. And so I'm not sure there's any real proof that can say that there's, or anything that we can say that can allow or contort the rules to allow for that right now, because it's one where, as you know, legal has said, it's not really creating a burden other than the fact that it's gonna cost you extra money, but any kind of transaction that you do with the zoning, any type of building, it's gonna cost you some money, so that's always gonna have to be part of the decisions you make when you decide to build.
And we just thought that since there was some that are already in the township, that somebody had the approval to do it, so we thought that maybe, you know, we could have the same approval. Because we know it's black and white, so that we know, and we know there's rules, and townships take hardships, take financial. Someone who's been in the township for, you know, maybe about 60, 70 years, if families pay taxes and own a beautiful lot. We just were hoping that, you know, we know what the rules are, but we also know that eventually they could easily put an addition on here, and they can easily put a walkway to it. It's gonna be the same thing, it's just separating that space and making it a little bit more nicer for their family and to operate a little bit better, is kind of why we were here today.
Sure, and you know, you make the rules and we can change the rules, absolutely, right? And I think that's something that you go to council with and say, hey, you know, can you guys change the rules? They're the ones that set the rules, we just, you interpret and try to make rulings based on the rules. We don't go off and change rules.
Hmm.
Like, absolutely, you're in your right to go off and petition council and bug them and push them to give you this opportunity.
Yeah. So we're just hoping, I mean, that financially, we felt that we would be able to fit this into the budget and make this work with the way it is, so.
So to attach it, to make it feasible to do this, we only need to do like a walkway from one house to the other and that makes it attached? I need clear, concise,
Oh, you mean,
so we can.
what are the definitions of an attachment? I'd have to defer to a friend here, because he knows the rules.
I can pull up the actual verbiage.
And what qualifies as the minimum.
So, 180-137A, 2 states only one accessory apartment may be permitted within a single-family detached dwelling. Accessory apartments may not be permitted as a separate structure. So, I would say that attaching it to the main dwelling unit would be considered an addition. Doesn't necessarily have to be established within an existing space within the building, but it could just be a typical addition that happens to be used in this capacity as, like if you were adding a, you know, I don't know, some other addition to your house, it would be treated the same.
And I think that's kind of the reason why we're here, because honestly, it's like, she can have this, and all she has to do is put a walkway between it, but now she has to pour new concrete, because she has concrete that's where the existing structure is, she already has conduit there. So again, that was kind of like, we can do this and we can attach to the house, but financially, there's already a structure there, and they're able to save money having in that space, and that's kind of why we were hoping that maybe we could get you guys to approve this, because we're already using, you know, a space that there was already structure on, and didn't have to detach. That was kind of our thought process, but I appreciate it. We know going forward, this is what the family wants to do, so if we didn't have your approval, we're gonna we're gonna attach it to the house, and unfortunately, we're gonna it's not gonna be the spot they want, but we're gonna have to cut a lot of things back just because of financials, and that's why we're hoping that we can put it in the spot that they're asking for. Because, you know, like I said, they already have a slab there, they already have certain things already ran, we just save them, you know, $5,000 to $10,000, if not more.
Just to clarify, that zoning rule for the attachment, as he explained it, I haven't looked at that rule, because I wasn't ready to, you know, didn't do any research on that specific rule, but you can have an attachment that's physically separated, attached with a walkway, and that constitutes an attachment, as he described it.
Yeah, for example, if somebody constructs a garage that's attached by a breezeway, it's considered a part of the main dwelling unit. So the similar theory would apply here, that if they're attaching a walkway, like a hallway or something like that, it would be considered a part of the main dwelling unit.
The walkway, uncovered walkway, just basically a piece of cement going all the way across the dwelling.
It would have to be covered.
Yeah,
To be a breezeway or a hallway or something
Oh,
like
it's gotta
that.
be a cover, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments, George?
No.
Any other questions? All right, I'm going to make a motion, and generally what we do is make motions in the affirmative.
Yes.
And then vote. So I move that we grant this variance as requested.
And who seconds the motion? That's not voting for it.
I'm
Need
getting
to be
the motion
seconded to
on
get the
the
motion.
table. What was your motion? I didn't get it.
His motion is to grant the variance as requested.
Then we're gonna vote.
If there's no second, a motion will fail for lack of a second. If there's a second, you can vote, you can second the motion and then vote against it, which is my recommendation. It's up to the board.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. All those in favor? All those opposed? Motion fails. Variance will not be granted. You'll be getting a written opinion.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys for your time.
Okay, any old business? All right, new business, discussion of requests, the council recommended that ordinance amendment make landfill be a special exception use in a LI zone district. So, George, want to bring this up to speed?
Yes.
when that ordinance was put in force.
Mr. Korzynski has asked the board, as a board, send a letter to
Two
Township
houses and two deeds.
Council asking
And after I bought my
they
house.
consider amending the ordinance to,
I ended up with two
change
houses on one.
the type of approval needed.
But they are.
I'm recommending against that, because I don't think the board has approval.
So-
Any board member can write a letter saying, I'd like to see this. But our ordinance provides
Ordinance was put on the
amendments,
books.
proposals,
So maybe you
or
can
changes,
read them out of some
maybe
kind of grandfather law.
addressed by the council, the planning commission,
And then the
or
other
two
thing that
property
comes
owners.
is
There's no
how many
authority
acres
for the board, as a board, to take this action.
to build
I
a
think it
house
would be an
in
excessive
Lower
authority.
Saucon.
And my recommendation is that we
think it's
don't
good.
send such a letter.
Yeah, so I read that letter, and what did strike me was that the second to last paragraph, talks about similarity in section 9.9.1, that if a challenge heard by the zoning board is found to have merit, the decision of the zoning board hearing or shall include recommended amendments of challenge ordinance which
Beat 'em out.
share the defect found. Is that, and I'm not going one way, I'm just trying to clarify, is that verbiage kind of counter to that, that there is some leeway?
I got a little
No,
ticked
because
off
that's
because.
in a special
like I said,
procedure when the ordinance is
I bought my
enacted
house
a certain way,
two houses
and that's not.
But when you say attacking, I didn't quite understand what I meant by cure the defect. Is that what you mean by attacking?
If somebody says the ordinance is defective for some reason,
One of them doesn't
and
even show up.
files the appropriate procedure,
Everything went to
Okay.
one address.
then the zoning board can recommend a change in the ordinance to deal with that problem. If the board first finds that there is a problem.
Do you have examples of what defective means? Or, I mean, because if it's still very general, right, you can almost make an argument of anything defective. I'm just trying to get clarity of what that statement actually means.
You want to address
I
that?
mean,
Yeah, so, one of the duties of the zoning hearing board is to hear a challenge to the validity of an ordinance, and that's essentially what that's addressing. If the zoning hearing, if, somebody had submitted, an application to the zoning hearing board to challenge the validity of an ordinance, that's where that would kick in.
Okay.
But I
sure,
agree.
it's very rare or limited, right? But there has to be someone petitioning to the zoning board saying, we think there's a defect on this rule, and we want you to make a recommendation. We would assess it and say, oh, maybe it does or it doesn't, regardless, but that is that special case that.
Exactly.
That we're on, okay, got it. Okay, I mean, so in this instance, we have no one coming to us saying there's a defect or there's anything that needs to be changed, it's more of you're requesting that, can we write something as an official document from the board saying this is what we recommend? I don't think that's within the boundaries of what we're authorized, but your recommendation is, you as an individual, you can go off and make a formal recommendation.
You see, I read part of the municipality planning code, and from that, and I discussed it this time, it specifically says that, we, the zoning hearing board, implement a system of checks and balances on the governing body's legislative powers to zone and regulate land development. Well, to me, that says that we're supposed to, if they do something that we don't agree with, we're supposed to let them know.
Could you repeat all that in the microphone so I could actually hear it?
Oh, sure.
And sir, what is your name?
Mark Ozimek, and you sit back here and you can't hear nothing because nobody speaks into the microphone.
You're absolutely right, I didn't. What I quoted was a passage out of the PA Municipality Planning Code, section 10101. And it defines the zoning hearing board as a quasi-judicial body that implements a system of checks and balances on the government's body legislative power to zone and to regulate land development. I took that to be that we have some responsibility, if we see something that isn't right, to bring it to their attention.
Later on, the ordinance, municipalities planning code defines what the duties of the zoning board are specifically. Specifically
Mr. Huntsman, your recommendation is we just don't take any action on this.
Correct.
Thank you.
We don't need to vote, right?
Not to take no action.
Okay,
We don't need to vote.
I tried.
It's,
Okay, new business. Anything else? Anything else, Jordan? All right, I will make a motion that we adjourn the meeting at 7.
We take public comments or
Do what?
public comments for anyone?
we don't really have public comments. This is a hearing board.
Okay.
There's nothing before us.
So I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. The post is set here.
Mama? Someday when it's cool. But the August is. Yes, sir.
Primary resident and an acre and a half on Old Valley Road. It's no problem, but it wasn't.
It's always, yeah, we don't, if there's something, so, yeah. It's planning commission's the same way, if we have business or, and if we don't have a form, then we just have to move it. So we can do. You too, take care. Thanks.
See ya.
I heard from Renee have one.
Yeah, I mean, have to work on that application
This is the
this
case.
week.
It's fine.